Pump that hit, Kevin. Pump this pump. Click. What's up, everybody? Okay, it's time to go. Here we go. Welcome to All Things Fantasy Grounds Talk Show. The show is meant to teach and help everybody, but the opinions stated by the four of us on the show tonight are not that of Smiteworks USA LLC or Fantasy Grounds. So don't tie us in. Don't get us in trouble. Before we welcome our guest, let me say hello to my co-hosts, Fury Fate. How are you?
I'm doing great. I just had a wonderful weekend in San Antonio for my husband's birthday, and we did an escape room, and we did it within the time limit. So
Yes.
Awesome, you got out. That's amazing. I love it.
Exactly.
Robin, how are you?
I love escape rooms. I just had to say that. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You know, I live in Spokane, Washington, and I just noticed driving on the freeway the other day a big tall sign standing way above every other sign next to the freeway that says escape room. So I'm kind of want to go down there. Yeah.
You should do it.
I
It's
should
so
do it.
much fun.
Should we make that like our next get together? Escape room in Spokane?
Yes, totally. We can do it.
Okay. That's the plan.
Excellent. Let us welcome our guest, Mr. Jonathan G. Nelson, and he is from, let me show the website, AAW Games. How are you, John?
Greetings, humans.
I love it. So, for those of you that don't know, AAW Games, and it's the website is adventureaweek.com. Let me just put it in the chat for you guys so you can go there if you'd like to.
Yeah, you can go to aawgames.com or adventureweek.com. Both go to the same place.
I think they switch over to the URL. So, been around for how long, John? How long have you been running this business?
I conceived the idea for this website along with Todd Gamble back in December of 2010. So we came up with the idea almost a decade ago, and it was implemented and launched after a lot of beta testing in March of 2012. So about 8 solid years.
Okay, great.
That's nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'll be easy for me to remember because I met my husband in 2010 and we got married in 2012. So
Wow. Well,
great.
congratulations.
Thank you.
And her husband's name is AAW. What a coincidence.
Yeah.
That is so great.
How
Initials
weird is that?
AAW.
Yeah, that's right.
Alfred Allenheim of Wickelmeyer.
Yeah, I love it.
So
Nice.
everybody's probably pretty happy that we're going to particularly talk today about the Rise of the Drought Collector's Edition, which is from AAW, and I happen to be the person that converted the Fantasy Grounds module. So we're going to take a look at that. Yay. And then we're also going to look at the Underworld encounters. Now I will also, these are both available as of now on the Smiteworks store or Steam. Here is the Smiteworks store link for
Look at that sexy cover.
that, right? And then here is the 5th edition. These are 5th edition versions, guys. So this does exist obviously in PDF format for both Pathfinder as well. The Fantasy Grounds Pathfinder module for Rise of the Drought Collector's Edition is not yet available. However, the encounter cards are, because I did that. And so on tonight's show, John will, of course, be giving away a copy of each of those and some PDFs. So I think we're going to give away maybe 5 prizes.
love you, man.
Damn.
Notham, thanks
So
for the
everybody
research.
who doesn't listen to the show is screwed. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, John, do you want to? Do you want to walk through this in any particular manner, or highlight some? I know that John's time is limited tonight, guys, because he's got technical things he's got to take care of in his life. Could be a relationship. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know, but
could be a website in HTML and
could be that too.
Fun things.
Anything you want to show in particular? Because I think if we went through the entire thing, it would not take a short amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, we could jump. I mean, the Underworld encounter cards. We'll come back to that one. Maybe we'll start with the Rise of the Drought Collector's Edition. But yeah, I mean, basically, what I would talk about here is that Rise of the Drought Collector's Edition was originally kind of conceived on we had basically a forum back on adventureweek.com back in the day. And our beta testers, some of those beta testers turned into team members over time just because they were so active and they had such fantastic ideas. So Stephen Yeardley and I co-wrote this adventure together. over many years. And there were a lot of other people that participated over that time as well. Some of them pretty big names that you would know. You can look through the table of contents and the credits to kind of get an overview of who all participated in this book. But it's
wait. I hate to
I love you, man.
Community friendly, like ready to go.
It's already got
occluders. Totally. Now, John, did you do the occluders yourself?
No. So we've got a group of people working at AAW that go through and have been helping out to build out a lot of this stuff. I was doing quite a bit in the beginning, but I've my as time goes on, my time is becoming more and more limited.
Yeah.
And so I'm not doing a lot of them, but we do have about 3 to 5 people actively working on building those, because we've got God, I don't even know, hundreds of products. So that's a lot of maps to go over.
And people watching the show right now are like, well, Rob, you converted it. Why the hell didn't you do the occlusion? Well, so when I took this job like a year ago, that wasn't a thing. there was no such thing as that.
Yeah, this is new, right?
Yeah, one day, I thought maybe John, you were just the person that informed me about it. But one day I got an email from somebody that said, "Oh, here's the occluders for Rise of the Drow." And I'm like, "What? Put them in." Okay, thank you.
That's kind of how things go. Yeah. Like we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants, with all kinds of stuff. I mean, the amount of products that we put out are insane, and especially when there's something new, like we go, okay, now we've got line of sight. Well, guess what? There's hundreds of modules, and all of those have dozens of maps. So going over all that stuff is a task in itself. So sometimes, you might just get an email that says, "Hey, here's something cool that is," you're like, "Wait, what's going on?" And
I've had that happen a lot with some of my DMs Guild stuff. People will just say, "Hey, you know what? I did the occluders. Here, take them." And I'm like, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's great. And that was one of our goals. As soon as Line of Sight came out, my goal was basically, I wanted to be the first. I basically want to be at the front of the pack as far as publishers to have this stuff, because I also use Fancy Grounds pretty heavily with my gaming group. And I do a lot of play testing in there as well. So it's I like to have those things built out, and what we've done, actually, we were going back through older stuff too, we're and pushing it out. And if you already own it, let's say you bought something back that you had for Fancy Grounds Classic and you were playing through it, if you load it up now in Fancy Grounds, you'll be surprised, because a lot of that stuff is now loaded up with those, all of our Fancy Grounds map packs, there's 4 different map packs, and those are really popular. A lot of people bought those over the years. Those now all have line of sight, and you don't have to pay anything extra for them. You just make sure you update your Fancy Grounds, load it up, and there you go. So
nice.
So going back to Rise of the Drow, a lot of great people worked on this. I mean, got some names that come to mind just off the top of my head. Owen Casey Stevens was in there. We had artwork by Jen Page, artwork by Satine Phoenix. Ed Greenwood wrote the foreword. There's a lot of good stuff by a lot of really good people. And it's basically a lot of times people, will think, oh, okay, this is an Underworld adventure. Well, it's not just an adventure. We always used to joke around with our friend Joshua Gullion, who this book's dedicated to him. He passed away some years ago, as a good friend of ours, and also worked on a lot of this. He used to call it a campaign setting disguised as an adventure, because there's so much to explore in the Underworld. We just fleshed out entire cities, the Fungi Forest, all kinds of unique locations. And then now in this newer edition too, we went back and created unique locations. Tilo Groff, who is the a lot of you guys would know as In Zeitgeist, who's the #1 third-party publisher reviewer. He went through and created a unique location for each of the Underworld races and classes that we have in our Underworld races and classes books. So that if you created, let's say you created a party of adventurers and you decide you're not going to go from the upper world into the Underworld, the Dungeon Master can get enough to go off of, so that he or she could set it from the Underworld and maybe try to turn things around, whether the group's fighting against the Drow, or maybe they're in the middle of a conflict. You could do a whole setting in the Underworld. There's enough content there to just go and explore and delve in. And what you're pulling up there, those are some interesting maps. Those don't come with the hardcover or the PDF version, the ones that you just opened. Those are battle maps that actually were printed by Gale Force 9. And so there were vinyl battle maps that you could purchase through the Kickstarter, and we have a limited supply. I think there's still a few left on my website. on AAWgames.com that you can pick up.
So that's extra material. I didn't even realize.
Yeah, and those were some extras that got thrown in because, I mean, that's the cool thing about Fantasy Grounds, right? You can kind of throw all kinds of goodies in there, and you know, it's not like you have to pay to print each thing or pay for layout or something. You can just include all the extras, you know. So awesome. Yeah, so I tricked Rob into putting those in. No,
damn it. So I was just trying to show off that there is in fact all the appropriate ones that need line of sight. It's all there.
That's awesome.
Oh, and then I had a thought, but because I'm super old, I do not remember what it is. So please continue.
I do have a question.
Oh,
John,
go ahead.
You mentioned that you've been working on this for years. How many years have you been, working on this, baby?
Man, I would say, so the original version of this, the first version we did on Kickstarter, we released in 2014. The original concept of this and the preliminary creation of a lot of the different NPCs of House Gullion, which we kind of built that and then built the adventure around this Drow house. That stuff, we first started coming up with the ideas and brainstorming back in like 2012, and then worked on it from like 2012 to 2014. Released it, and then wanted to do I've always wanted to do a collector's edition, and so we've kind of been working behind the scenes ever since then. So this is definitely like, when all is said and done, wrapping this up, it's probably like about 6 years, 6 to 7 years of hardcore work. So it is insane.
So
and I can tell you this.
I love it.
I can tell you this. While I'm very proud of this book, I am never ever doing a book this size again. I mean, it's nearly 600 pages. The amount of work involved for something like this is off the chart, and especially like keeping in touch with the customers and making sure everyone's taken care of. It was a lot. And I'm ready to like put this one on the shelf for myself and be like, okay, guys, I know this book inside and out. Please go enjoy it. Adventure in the world. Tell me about all your stories, because that's my favorite part, is getting all this cool feedback and hearing how people, how they incorporate it into their gaming group and what they've done on their adventures is like, I love that, But for me personally, I'm already on to the next thing. I'm like, what's new? What am I creating? So.
Yeah, I tell you, when I opened this, hey Rob, do you want to do? Oh yeah, okay. 550 some, whatever the number of pages was. I was like,
that's a lot.
Oh, so
it's a huge book.
I don't exist for the next year, I was thinking to myself.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just, and I was a little, and what's funny is when I do these conversions, I don't have a comprehension about it. I just do the work. So I could be a player or a person who would run this, and I would really have to read it. I don't even really know, because I just do, it's like I do it by, most people don't do that. I talk to other conversion specialists, and they go, oh yeah, there's all the, and I don't even read. I just copy paste format. I'm not even really paying attention.
That's me. I read all of the conversions.
Yeah, because if I did that, it would take me 4 times longer to do it, right? Like I would be like, I got.
Dude, I totally understand. I mean, that's the thing, is that you should not have to worry about a lot of that anyway, because I mean, that's what editors are for. The one spot I would warn anyone that's doing their own Fantasy Grounds build, whether you're a professional or not, is anytime you have to type some stuff on your own, like if you have to type some headings or something out like that, is just be cautious of what you're typing, especially when you're flying by the seat of your pants trying to get something done, because most of the time I've noticed in editing, it's not even like the large amount of text. It's a lot of the stuff that really you would think, oh, I'd catch that. It's a heading at the top of the page, but a lot of times it's something like that, like just one misspelled
table titles and stuff.
Stuff like that.
Stuff you think like, no, I know it's correct now, but I spelled forward wrong.
That's a common mistake. When I first started writing, I used to spell forward wrong all the time.
But what my point was going to be, though, is a lot of this is you're in the PDF and you copy paste. But a lot of times the way some of the PDFs are formatted, just from everybody, anywhere you get them, is a lot of the fonts will be weird in titles or chapter settings. So you can't copy them, and then you have to type it out. And you just have to hope you don't make a mistake. It happens. The greatest thing about Fantasy Grounds in particular, just as a community, is that if mistakes are made, they'll get posted on the forums, and then we can just, it's not like a hardback book. We don't have to put out errata like WotC or any of the other companies. We can just go change it and it's fixed. So
right.
Yes,
awesome.
and I'm very envious of you for that, because I'm on the other side where I've got everything from the hardcover to the PDF, to, and you on the Fancy Grounds end. So yeah, Fancy Grounds like, hey, can you fix this? Boom, done.
Right.
Pushed it out next Tuesday or whatever. And then PDF, a little bit more involved.
Yeah.
Got to work with layout, make sure that we get it all right, check it all before we put out a new edition, and we can't just push it out over and over again. We want to make sure that we fixed a whole bunch of stuff and push it out. And then when you come to print, you're like, well, that's kind of in the book.
No.
So sorry.
Next edition. Yeah. I would panic if I was any kind of publisher.
Sorry.
Look at this.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. There's a couple of questions in chat, so I just wanted to ask them before I lose them, which I did. So okay, so there's a question from Mary Mayhem. Will you AAW games? Will you be converting the Snow White stuff over to 5th edition?
Snow White. That's one of those kind of like, it's almost kind of like become like a little semi-cult classic thing, because Snow White did not do the kind of like massive sales and everything as we expected. It was nominated for tons of awards because it's a pretty badass adventure. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there. There's massive amounts of puzzles and riddles and isometric cartography. Some of the best cartography I've ever seen in any book by Tommy Salama in the Snow White book. It was nominated for a whole bunch of Annie Awards, Product of the Year, Best Writing, Best Art, Best Cartography, all kinds of stuff. And we didn't win a single award. And it was because we are a smaller publisher, and there were a lot of big names in those contests. It kind of becomes like a popularity contest. So it kind of fell by the wayside. But that said, there's a lot of people that really absolutely love that adventure, and it is one that's kind of dear to my heart because we basically took the original Grimm stories and went back to the original folklore in Germany, which luckily we have an in on that with Thilo Graf, who's now on our team. Because he lives in that area where all the Grimm stories come from. He actually lives in that part of Germany. So,
that's fun.
Yes, and this story is totally different than anything. And I don't want to give anything away for anyone else that hasn't played Snow White, but Snow White is definitely not what you would expect. The adventure has lots of twists and turns, and has a lot of cool stuff like in the Haunted Forest. There's all this alchemy ingredients, and there's flora and fauna. Really unique creatures and things to interact with. They're not just combat encounters, but you have to use your wits to kind of overcome or try to approach them and role play through different situations. But anyways, I'm rambling about Snow White and we're talking about Rise of the Drought. Short version is, yes, I do plan on doing that. Next, we're working on some new projects because we want to make some new stuff because that's really what gets us going, Makes
sense, yeah.
But we will be redoing that at some point. I think Into the Wintry Gale, Wrath of the Jotun, basically like the Viking adventure, that I think it might be forthcoming before. But then after that's moving for 5th edition, then we want to go back to Snow White and get that out for 5th edition as well. Some of these we might even move in the direction of saying, hey, this might be easier to get it out for people just as like a Fancy Grounds exclusive, or like to start on Fancy Grounds and then crowdfund a hardcover or something like that. Ooh. Because especially with COVID, it's like my gaming group exclusively is gaming on Fancy Grounds now. So it would be nice to have access to more material like that. And I also love those kinds of adventures where you can play the actual adventure, or you can grab some of the cool stuff from it and incorporate it into your own game. So
yes,
but yes, sorry, that's a long answer. Snow White, yes, it's going to be forthcoming. It's on my radar for sure. So I hope to get that moving within the next year.
Awesome.
So let's give prizes away because we want to be able to do that and get you on your way. So what we're gonna do, was it gonna be three PDFs of this adventure and then the Fantasy Grounds module? Okay.
Give them 3 PDFs. And once they have downloaded them onto their computers, then we will begin to spread the drow.
That's right. That's how you do it. Oh my God, that voice is awesome.
I love it.
All right, so
I need to learn how to do that.
So
my players always make fun of me when I am DMing and I try to do scary voices. They just think it's funny.
That's
so
when you have to have
one
like
of
those little
everybody.
fun buttons to press for your microphone.
Right.
The code is !Drow PDF. And then what I will do is I will pick 3 winners from this list of entry people. You know what I'm saying. Words are hard. But yeah, so if you want to type in the chat, when the timer runs out, I'll pick 3 names, and then we'll do a separate drawing for the Fantasy Grounds module, and then we'll do a separate drawing for the Underworld encounter cards, which we can go over as well. And do you want to? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the Underworld encounter cards. Those people will think like, oh, it's going to be a bunch of combat encounters. No, you're covered. Rise of the Drows has a massive bestiary. There's a whole bunch of encounters in Rise of the Drow, plenty to keep your group busy for a long time. The Underworld encounter cards are unique encounters. They are, maybe you can pull a few up on there as some examples. They're, a lot of them could be role-playing encounters. They are, they could be different NPCs that the group can interact with. Some of them might come with gear. Some may give information. And some may very well lead to combat, but they're basically, it's a stack of cards you can put out and grab from. And so we've got 4 different indicators on here, 4 different groups. And so you've got the Outsiders, which is the one with the green with the skull. You've got the Dominion, which is the purple with the spider. You have the Rebels, which is red. And that, if you pull one of those up there, that is with the crossed pickaxes and the sword, to indicate that one's kind of like the dwarves with some of the upper worlders. And then the upper worlders, which are, at least in the Aventure campaign setting, are the Klevekians. So we have like a double-headed eagle, because that's almost kind of a ancient Russia inspired, the Klevekian kingdom is. So you've got those 4 different kind of factions. And we actually had something during the Kickstarter that we called Clash of the Factions. And so every night we would get on Discord and roll dice with a dice bot. And there were 4 different factions, and they would plan attacks on each other. And they would move through the underworld and attack each other, or spy on each other, or look for different items and things that could help them in the underworld. So we did this whole game, which was really pretty awesome. So that helped spawn a lot of these encounters and the different factions themselves. So we had some during the Kickstarter, we had some limited edition dice sets made for those as well. T-shirts and all kinds of fun stuff. But those are gone. Like, I didn't even get copies of them. Like, I ended up with some shipments went out wrong, and I had a limited stock, so I had to drive down like my T-shirts to Mock's boarding house and stuff. That before I even got them out of the box, I'm like, okay, we'll send these out too, because we're short on stuff. So
wow,
even I ended up not, like, the collector's edition stuff is out in the world, and I don't even have some of it. So but yeah, it's they're fun. And what's cool is, you've got those 4 different colors. So depending on where the characters are, if they're in the upper world, you can grab one of the upper world ones. If they're down near close to the area where the Drow region is, you can grab the Dominion. If they're out in like the fungi forest or something, maybe you grab one of those. And it just helps you throw in some extra stuff if you need a little fun encounter here and there as they're traveling.
I love that. That's like a really cool, I don't know, I love that kind of stuff. And don't know where I was going with that, but it's really awesome.
There's approximately 30 for each of the 4 factions, so 120 cards. So what I did is I made you have a random table for each faction, or a random table for all the factions.
That's perfect.
So you can, if you don't want to, you can, if you're using this as a DM, you can pick one out specifically, or you can roll them up randomly and use them as they are. But yeah, really good, really creative.
All right, having it random works good too, because if you're traveling through the underworld and you're more of kind of like, you're in an in-between region where you're partway between the upper world, partway between like the dwarf realm, and partway between the drow, you could roll all the cards, and any of those could work. Or if you're close to the dwarven, like the city of Embla or the city of Stoneholm, then all of a sudden you pull the rebels, which is like the dwarves.
Yeah. All right, let's see. I'm going to pick winners now. This is going to be exciting. Okay, so I'm going to pick 3 PDF winners. Here we go. The first one is McKay. I don't know how to say it, but you win. I apologize for butchering your name, but I will, I'm going to write that down over here so that we don't forget.
Welcome to the Underworld.
Yes.
So, I don't recognize that screen name as being someone who's won from me before. So, please go to my Discord, there's the link, and just send me a private message. Hey, I won the PDF, and then I'll make sure to get your info to John so he can distribute that to you. Let's draw another name. Boom. John ECC. Also a winner.
From across
Visit
the
Tolgorth
pond.
Tower and come up to see the Vidra Factory.
Nice.
I might have just peed a little. All right,
I
third
love it.
third winner of the PDF is Rammer 2. Congrats, Rammer. And now what we shall do, so that we don't keep John here for 7 hours, is I'll reset this and we'll do the encounter cards. So the thing we just showed, and then we'll do the Fantasy Grounds module last. So this will be the Fantasy Grounds module of those cards, right? So not the PDF, but the Fantasy Grounds module.
Yeah.
So let's put in. I'll just put in the word encounter. I think that'll work. So if you guys want to win that, go ahead and type in the chat !encounter. You have to spell it right, or it won't work. And then we'll draw a name. There's some names in there already. And then once we're done with that, we'll do the biggin, the one that everybody's chomping to get.
I want it so
and
bad.
this is a good time to mention too, for those of you that maybe missed it or that you aren't familiar with the Rise of the Drow. It starts out level 1, goes to level 15 by the time you're done, or if you explore all of the areas in the Underworld, it'll definitely take you to 20. And I don't want to give away any spoilers, but the last part, which was part of the original epilogue, is pretty epic. It's about as insane as things get, and will test your players not just in their combat abilities, but will really test their wits. They better be keen players, or they're going to be dead.
Nice.
Now, with this campaign, did you include like new sub races or racial traits for Drow characters?
So a lot of the actual racial stuff, like Drow, and then different. We actually have 4 different sub races of dwarfs, and the dwarfs are all based off of a lot of it, often Norse mythology.
Nice.
They are there. A lot of that stuff we actually have in Underworld races and classes. Which the guy that converted that is the same guy that did a lot of the main WotC stuff. Philip, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Is it Philip Gregg? I don't know. Grieg?
Yeah, Zacchaeus.
Yeah.
Everybody knows him as Zacchaeus, yeah.
Sorry, Zacchaeus. Anyways, he did all those conversions, so they're all like, if you want to play a Drow, like, this specific type of Drow, or you want to play one of the special cult or the special classes that we made, like Mistress of the Web. You can just drag and drop it in Fantasy Grounds, just like any of the other races. Drag and drop the race on your character sheet, drag and drop and level up classes and all that good stuff. So Underworld races and classes, and then Occult Secrets of the Underworld are 2 kind of supplementary products that you can use. But yeah, it's separate from Rise of the Drow. If you put in Rise of the Drow, it'd be insane, because then Rise of the Drow would be like 800 something pages. So.
All right, I can physically hear people saying, draw the winner, hashtag shithead. So I'm going to do it. Bofferin, what's up? Bofferin wins the encounter cards.
Congratulations, Bofferin.
And also you win some toilet paper to help you with from that scary voice. All right, last one, everybody. I'm going to
go back and watch the show and get sound bites for myself.
You should.
Just saying.
just play John's voice in your sound thing. Okay, so let's do this one. This one is going to be for the ROTDCE Collector's Edition.
This is the big one.
This is a big one, everybody. We'll just do it ROTD. And there you go. Type in !ROTD, and the winner of this drawing will be getting the Fantasy Grounds version. The thing we went over, everybody. The reason John's here tonight. This thing right here.
The reason they all stood up, honestly.
That adventure series, that adventure itself, if you have people that are into the Underdark, it would basically probably keep you busy. I mean, I could keep my players busy with that for probably 3 to 5 years during COVID, if it lasted that long, or if we end up with COVID
if you played
2.0.
like once a week for 3 hours, you could do it for a couple of years, I'm sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's enough unique locations there to explore.
All right, we got some names.
Enough characters to interact with.
I totally snuck one in there.
15, it's legit. You can win.
Do it.
15.
So
go get it.
John, in this campaign, do you have like a particular character that you created or a particular story arc that you just absolutely love?
Well, I have to say, since we started it out in the Aventure campaign setting, which is easy to plug and play into a lot of different worlds, there are a lot of characters that I created. They were kind of dear to my heart from the village of Rybalka. So, I mean, there's not just one. There's definitely quite a few, and Brian Syme did a lot of the artwork for those. So I actually really love those. Fun fact is the original art for the first Rise of the Drow, the matron mother of the Drow, I gave the artist, I gave him some like a photo of my wife at the time, and I said, put her in there somewhere. You can make her any character, it doesn't matter, Drow, dwarves, wherever you think, wherever you think she would fit. He ended up making her the Drow matron. Well, which yes, that was very sweet. We ended up getting he took my image and he used it for one of the dwarves that was against the Drow, helping the characters fight in the Underworld to well, I won't give away spoilers, but anyways, so he put my face in there, one of the dwarves, and he put her face as the Drow matron. Comes to be later on that we ended up getting a divorce.
Hello.
Oh,
and it was definitely a nasty one. So it was kind of like fighting a war in the Underworld. And yeah, so the new version does not include her face. The new version does not include my face either.
I don't know. Just saying that with no context, like not talking about what we're talking about, just saying that phrase. The new version doesn't include her face. It's just a fun thing to say. I'm going to say that now.
It is fun to say, yeah.
Let's draw the winner. Here we go. Everybody,
let's draw the winner.
I'm such an asshole. I've been hovering over it and not clicking it. All right, here we go, everybody. The big drum roll, and the winner is
my heart.
Oh, Rammer 2. Rammer 2.
Rammer 2. Yeah.
So he got the PDF and the. He got the PDF and the. That's fine. All right, very good, everybody. Normally we would he can if he wants, but we would go in ad nauseum on stuff, but John had a limited amount of time, so
I can stick around for a little bit longer here.
Okay, you let us know, because I want to make sure if anybody else has questions, they get them answered. So guys, if you have questions in the chat, please type them in there so we can have John answer.
I have a question.
Yeah.
That's what you're here for, too.
I always have questions. What's new? So you did this through Kickstarter, and I don't mean for this question to come out wrong, but it might. I apologize in advance. Is it not set in Forgotten Realms? Is it its own sort of thing?
Yeah. So we can't say anything to Forgotten Realms.
Right.
The Forgotten Realms is the intellectual property of Wizards of the Coast. And Wizards of the Coast is secretly Hasbro, the biggest game and toy company in the entire world, with many lawyers that will come and get you.
That's right.
So, unfortunately, we could not set it in the Forgotten Realms. So it is set in the Aventure campaign setting, which is our own setting. But the cool thing about that is that on AEWgames.com, you can click on Aventure, and all the content we have for it is freely available on the web. So we don't charge anything for that. We'll be growing it in the future and eventually doing more. But yeah, we couldn't actually set it in the Forgotten Realms because, of legal reasons.
Right,
whatnot.
gotcha.
But it was still really cool that Ed Greenwood was willing to do the foreword. I thought that was pretty awesome.
That's awesome. Another big get would have been really impressive. Not that Ed Greenwood's not impressive. Don't take it that way. But R.A. Salvatore would have been like cherry on top.
You know what? It would have been amazing if you could get Gary Gygax.
Well,
he's dead. So
but that would be absolutely fucking amazing. You get some dead guy writing shit.
It could be possible to get Gary Gygax, but we'd have to figure out. I don't know all the stuff that has to do with like quantum mechanics and everything, but with string theory, there is at least I'm sure there's at least one timeline out there where Gary Gygax is still alive. So if we could figure out how to reach out to him
with Jim Morrison and Elvis Presley, and it would be.
But what if?
Yes, and they could they could write some kind of like collaborative forward.
See,
that'd be cool. But what if that was the one timeline or universe or whatever where he didn't have a hand in Dungeons and Dragons?
That's true. Or he might not have a hand at all. He had some kind of like accident in middle school.
It would still be cool.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, there's a question in chat from Virank. What 5th edition products will AAW be bringing to Fantasy Grounds next?
Oh man, you got me on the spot there. What 5th edition? Actually, you know what we've been doing that I really enjoy is I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Black Scroll Games, but they have some just incredibly beautiful cartography, and so we've been working with them to get all their stuff into tile sets for Fantasy Grounds Unity, and so that's kind of what we've been working on lately. So you can kind of have plug and play tiles that already have line of sight built in to build your own castle, your own city, your own sewers, and things like that. So that's kind of where we've been focusing right now, is a lot of that stuff that's and the real reason I kind of lit the fire on a lot of that and got that moving was because of COVID. I knew there's a lot of people, myself included, that wanted to tell our own stories with our friends and be able to have the tools necessary to do that with Fantasy Grounds. So we kind of like changed gears and focused on the map packs for a while to get a lot of that stuff out there. And then we're going to go back to moving more in the direction of the adventure stuff, like a lot of the mini dungeons. Yeah, like if you scroll down a little bit further there, you see that's not available on Fantasy Grounds yet, but it is coming soon, like the mini dungeons bundles. We won't be releasing them on Fantasy Grounds as single mini dungeons anymore. We'll be releasing them as bundles, but they'll actually be cheaper that way. They'll save you a few bucks. And each bundle, it comes with everything already built in. So when you load up your mini dungeon, it's got the full adventure on there. You've got a cool map and all the line of sight already built in to begin with.
Yeah,
so.
Cool. Yeah, I have the mini tome. I think that's got 100 of them in there.
Yeah, and that's down the road too. I mean, once we release a whole bunch of mini dungeons, we're going to go and probably do a mini dungeon tome 2 Kickstarter. We'll do a bunch of we'll get a bunch of it, different big names from the various companies that we usually work with, and have each person write a custom mini dungeon for that tome as well.
Sweet.
The next big project that we have coming up that's not necessarily for Fantasy Grounds yet, but Rob might be able to help me out with that, is we have something coming called the Survivalist Guide to Spelunking, and I haven't really announced it anywhere else yet. Some of the Rise of the Drow fans figured out that on the back of the book there was a little brief mention of it, and they're like, "Hey, what's this?" So the Survivalist Guide to Spelunking is something we've been working on for actually some years now, and it is the 5th edition version of the Dungeoneer Survival Guide. It is by Thilo Groff, and Thilo is not one to toot his own horn, but he said that this is essentially the best work he's ever done his entire life. And Thilo is someone that has reviewed thousands and thousands of products, and he doesn't he playtests stuff to death with his gaming group, and doesn't he's not the kind of person, like I said, to toot his own horn. So that's forthcoming. That is by Thilo Groff and Stephen Yeardley. I did a little bit on it, and then also we got Douglas Niles, who is the creator of the original Dungeoneer Survival Guide. He will also be an author and has already written the content for the Survivalist Guide to Spelunking as well. And it'll give you all new rules for adventuring in the Underworld, different things like a momentum engine, holding your breath, new rules for holding your breath. Like if you're holding your breath and swimming in an underworld lake and all of a sudden you're in a fight with some weird creatures, obviously gently swimming in a warm pool is a lot different than delving into some horrible underworld lake that has sulfuric acid and some creature trying to kill you and you're fighting with your sword, So we've got a lot of cool stuff like that. It also, we have all the different cave types, beautiful artworks, and we're going old school black and white for this one to really kind of bring back the just the mystery of the Underworld.
Cool. Well, there you go. Whoever asked that question, Virank, that's a lot of stuff.
Sorry, I'm rambling.
Yeah, I remember this book, from first edition. I had this. I bought this. As a matter of fact, this particular book I purchased at the PX in Seoul, Korea, when I was in the Army in 1980.
That's so cool you remember that.
Yeah, because I couldn't, I tell that story all the time, and they're like, wait, the Army in foreign countries, PX, had D&D stuff.
That is pretty crazy.
The military was a great place because you had, you were either go 24/7 or you had a lot of downtime, and so we played D&D.
Dude, I think more than half my group are all veterans, so it's they all started playing or brought it to friends in the military as a way to pass the time.
Yeah, because you can do stuff for 12 hours or you can do stuff for 40 minutes and then just pause it, and it's D&D, so versatile that way. But yeah, I do remember buying that specifically. There was a
That's
couple
really
other ones. Oriental Adventures was another one that I bought. I don't think you can title a book that anymore, but they did, and some other ones.
I love those old books. I still
Yeah.
pick them up and flip through them.
They're fun. Yeah, I don't. Unfortunately, when I was, like 25 years ago or even 30 years ago, whenever it was, I guess around 96, I was really poor, and I sold all my D&D stuff on eBay.
Yeah, I did that
and
not that long ago also.
Yeah, and included in that was the 144-page Cthulhu copyrighted, Fiend Folio or whatever that was. The one that had the two. Yeah, I mean that was half the price. I sold that was like $250, and the other, I sold it all for like $500. All my Dragonlance stuff. Yeah, I wish I could have it back, but whatever.
I have a similar story not that long ago when I moved and thought I had to downscale, and I sold everything. And one of the things I really miss is like the Planescape box set. I sold it and I got like $40 to $60 for it, and then now I go online, it's like $250.
Yeah. You want to get all that stuff back? It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I'm such a freak. I everything I ever buy, especially like if it's a book or a module or anything, I keep it in such pristine condition.
Me too.
Not me. I write in my books.
Oh my god! Oh, my heart is beating fast.
I know
now
you guys have given me shit for it before, but they're my books. I bought them and I DM, so I write in them. Sue me.
No, I think that's great. I think it's really. I mean, I wish I had the kind of money that I'd just like buy a book and then have one that's like my copy to put on the shelf and then one to write in. But no, I totally get that. Like on my own books that I publish, I'm like end up with like print proofs and different things. So I have extra copies. I will write right in there as well. I mean, why not? That's where you need the notes. You're making notes about different NPCs and different locations and stuff. And then when you flip back to that city or whatever, there's your NPCs, right?
Yeah. All right.
This,
I have one last question. I don't think there's any more in chat that I've seen. I've been scrolling through it, but I have one last question for you. So I know you've been mentioning kind of all these awesome, amazing creators that you've, done projects with for AAW games. Have you ever done, I guess, pitch calls or anything like that for more average Joes kind of people?
We actually, what's really interesting, that's an interesting question, because for years and years, that's what we did. Like the early days of adventureweek.com, we did a lot of working with freelancers and folks that want to get their names out there that were just getting started. And I wish we could still do that. We just recently kind of closed things down on that, because we've got so much, especially since Rise of the Drought. It kind of created a backlog in a way. Like we started prepping we were working on all these different projects, and then Rise of the Drought, when it got to the point where it's moving into editing and layout and stuff, we were still working on new projects. And so by the time this book actually came out, now we've got this big backlog that we have to catch up on. So I'm not against working with new people, and I'm not against trying people out. It's just that you definitely have to be top of your game. You really have to know, if you're going to be writing for D&D 5th edition, you need to know not only how to come up with creative ideas, but how to create a stat block correctly. What the different basically read up on the D&D 5e style guide, which Wizards of the Coast actually has on their site. I'd also suggest some of the different Kobold guides out there. And then if people are wanting to submit something, they can go ahead and ping me on my Facebook page. Just look up Jonathan G. Nelson. Feel free to just ping me on there if you have a really creative idea and you think you've got the chops for it. I do work with a small group of people, and we have a mini dungeons group that we actually have on Facebook that's private. And in that group, we work on new mini dungeons, new mini dungeon releases, which go out for PDF, print cardstock, and Fantasy Grounds as well. So you can hit me up there, and on just on my personal Facebook, just send me a message, add a friend request, and then shoot me a message, whatever, and we'll chat. But again, I'm pretty insanely busy these days, so ping me if you're positive, if you're like, I got the chops for this, and I've got the skill, I've got the creativity, and I'm ready to go. Yeah, hit me up for sure. I'd love to take a look at your stuff.
Awesome.
Cool.
I'm out of questions. So
all right, good. Well, we wanna thank you, John, for coming to the show. It was super awesome. And we'd love to have you back in the future when, you know, it's appropriate for you to hawk some more shit, baby. Whatever there is.
Can I ask a question though of you guys?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Of course.
So tell me, you know, obviously I know we could go all night talking about Dungeons and Dragons and all this kind of stuff because we all love it, but how did you guys each get into role-playing games? Like what was your origin story for role-playing games for each of you?
Period.
Oh, for me, I've always liked it. Like, you know, when I was like 14, 15, I was kind of starting to get into the cult, into witchcraft and stuff. And then I was like, ooh, Dungeons and Dragons. And then I can role play something and it'll be fun. I'll be a druid and I'll have an animal companion. And then my boyfriend at the time killed my animal companion. And I'm like, fuck you. And then I killed him. And then, you know, I was like, oh, I'm a hobo.
Not in real life. She didn't kill him in real life, y'all.
No,
you always have to be careful when when people are telling stories and like someone's walking by and you're talking about your D&D game. People are like, okay, hi, and they're like running away with their dog, like running down the street, like that person's killing people.
So yeah, that's my origin story of how I got into it, and then, you know, 10, 20 years later, I'm still obsessed with being
Robin.
A murder hobo, basically.
That's awesome. Murder hobo.
Mine's not that cool. I was 8 years old, so that was a very long time ago. I'm not doing math. And shut up. My family was very poor and my parents weren't around a lot. They were very not home all the time. And so my brothers and I, we used to like walk to the arcade or like walk to the library to like check out books. And my older brother checked out the second edition Dungeons and Dragons book.
Yeah.
And we checked it out so much from the library on like recurring checkouts that at one point they were going to charge us because it was like lost or whatever. So my brother, he was mowing people's lawns and he like paid the $20 for the book to the library.
Aww.
He still has the book with like the library barcode on it and everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so we used to play. We played very badly. We didn't know all the rules. It was the Player's Handbook was the only book that our library had. And then, you know, we got into third edition shortly after that. And my brother was working at like a movie theater and was like paying for all the books. And I was still little, you know, but we had a lot of fun. And that's like how I got into D&D.
So you said you didn't have that cool of a story. I think that story is awesome.
Well, you know.
What about you, John? What was your origin story?
My origin story is kind of like similar to a lot of people. It was I was actually living, well, some of it is, some of it isn't. I was living, the short version, I was living in a cabin in about 90 acres of forest here in Western Washington that my friend's dad, his family owned. And my friend, who was the same age as me, he was born like 2 weeks apart from me, his aunt and uncle came to visit, and they were always kind of cool, different, eclectic people that I really liked. And I was kind of shy at the time. And they brought us these weird books, and it had all that Larry Elmore artwork as the red box, you know, and they brought us these weird D&D books and modules and a bunch of really cool looking dice. We're like, whoa, what are these things? You know, so we started fiddling around with it. And I was also about age 8, like 8 to 9. And I immediately, once I saw Dungeon Master, I'm like, oh, I can play more than one character. I can play all the monsters and all the characters that they encounter, and I get to create the story. I'm like, ooh, that's what I want to do, like right away. And everybody else want to be players. So, you know, we just started playing in some little shack way out in the middle of the woods. And then going out and pretend like, you know, fighting with sticks in the woods, pretend like we're the different characters and what have you. And
oh my God,
we just kept playing over the years. And I'm still friends with that same friend. And we're like, you know, early 40s now. So
cool.
Rob.
What about you, Rob?
Well, everyone's heard my origin story 1,000 times, but since you
I haven't heard
John,
it.
Yeah, I know. So, I was 15. I was a sophomore in high school, and I had a friend that I had befriended right at the beginning of the year, and he used to carry around. Now this was in 1981 when it was not cool to play D&D. You were a devil worshiper. And,
I remember those
you know,
days.
fucking CNN, or I mean, 60 Minutes was doing stories on it and all this kind of stuff. So he carried around with him in the halls. it was either the player's handbook or the DMG. I want to say it was the DMG because I think it had that red statue on it.
Wait, he walked openly?
Yeah, he carried it around with him at school and got beat up for that. Oh, he got fucking beat up every day, and he would still do it. And I was friends with him, and I said, what is that book that you carry around? And he said, oh, it's a game I'm looking at where you play characters and you fight monsters and you have swords and you go in dungeons. And I was like, I'm in. What is it? And I was like, I don't care. And he goes, okay, well, come over to my house on Saturday. So I go over there. Don't know anything. I don't know anything. And he had read some of the books, but he had got a group of like 4 of us, and then since we had never played before, he found a dungeon master, and we were all 15, and he found this kid Kevin that was 12, but he had played and he had been a DM before, so we were like, okay. So you can, if for those of you that have played First Edition, part of the whole fun of the thing, especially if you were new, is we spent 4 hours with one copy of the player's handbook. Hand it to me. I need to buy my equipment. Yeah. Oh wait, what are my spells? So I made a wizard, like a human wizard, and in those days it was 1d4 hit dice, so I had 2 hit points.
Yep.
And we literally spent 4 hours, pizzas and sodas and whatever we were doing, and just poured over the thing, and we got all ready to go. And then we said, okay, we're going to play now. So we start the game, and this Kevin, he says, okay, you find yourself in the center of a town, and he sets the scene, and he sort of describes it. And he says, you're walking down an alley, and you see some ne'er-do-wells at the end of the alley, and he rolls a die. He takes a scratched piece of paper, writes a note on it, folds it up, and he slides it over to me on the table. And I'm like, what's this now? This is a secret. And I open the note, and it says, you've been shot in the chest with a crossbolt. You are dead. Please do not say anything to the other players. And I crumpled this note up, and I threw it in the middle of the table, and I was like, fuck you, and fuck all you, and fuck this game, and I'm fucking out of here. And then I tried to flip the table, which was like an 800-pound oak table. So just picture an angry 15-year-old just shaking, trying to move a table that won't move. And I started to storm out, and the guy that was my friend from school, he was like, wait, come back. And he goes, hey, man, you can't, we'd spent all this time, and he's just dead in the first 2 seconds. He never got a chance to react or do anything. And so we reset, and then, the rest of the day was okay. But had my friend not called me back, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
That is
dude,
wild.
Kevin doesn't fucking play around. You're dead. Come
Yeah.
on.
Oh, dude, First Edition, if you knew anything about the game, once you got going with it, if you're a wizard, you better watch the fuck out, because seriously, you will go down. You might have a wizard with 1 hit point. That means like a little rat comes up and bites you and your character's dead. When you hit 0, you're gone. You're not unconscious. You don't roll death saves. There's none of that nonsense. You are dead. And
right.
you have to hand in
to
your
have
character
it happen where it's like, okay, let's start playing. You're dead. Like I didn't even say my character's name. I never even fucking did anything. It was so abhorrent to me. And then so I played First Edition from 81 to 87, and then I took a 22-year break and started up in 09 playing 4th Edition.
4th Edition?
And then I had a liver transplant, and then I had my liver transplant in August of 14, if everybody remembers what that date is. That's the beginning of 5th Edition. And then I found Fantasy Grounds, and now it's like literally my whole life.
Isn't it crazy how a game can change your entire life?
Yeah, people that aren't in our world, that don't live in nerddom with us, they can't even wrap their heads around how I can make a living off of it.
They have no idea. They're like, what? How? They also don't understand that it's not all fun all the time. They go, oh, you get to play games? I'm like, no.
Right. Like, why do you take the month of January off, Rob? And I said, because that 6 o'clock stream time's begging me to be there every day, and I can't take it. I need a month off. But yeah, people.
Oh, that's smart. I wish I could do that.
Yeah. I don't think I can, but I do. You know what I mean? Like I just make it happen.
It's important, I think, for all humans, especially if you're running your own show. It's really great to run your own show. I have no complaints about whatsoever. But humans do need breaks. You know, you need, especially during time like COVID and stuff. It's like, it's good to take some like mental health for yourself, especially when you've got a family and everything else going on. It's like, you owe it to yourself to kind of like, you know, press reset and come back refreshed, right?
That's exactly why I do it.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
Or wise. It could be intelligence or wisdom. I don't know what that would be.
It's not charisma.
Maybe it's both.
A little bit of constitution, unless you're a heavy drinker.
Oh, well, as you know, I cannot drink alcohol, so...
Well, I quit a year ago, so...
Yeah.
Good for you.
I quit in like
8 years ago.
I quit in like 1968, but
6 years ago.
You quit 6 years ago?
Yeah, 6 years ago. I
Wow,
mean, like,
congratulations.
I've probably had like a glass of wine like once a year, maybe, if even, you know what I mean? But I don't like drink. Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I
We
quit
know what
because
you
I
mean.
want to be. I was in a rock band before, and I did not treat my body well. So I'm like, I want to be around for my kids and grandkids. So one day I'm like, you know what? I've had enough friends die that I don't want to follow that path. So it's time to change things around.
Yeah, my parents were alcoholics, so
I understand that.
very rough.
And then there's the guy who never
I
did
don't
an
wanna be like
illegal
that.
drug, never drank, had to have a liver transplant, and I should have just partied. It would have been the same.
Right?
Like, you know.
Missed
No,
opportunities.
If you had party, you probably wouldn't be here right now. So
Yeah,
That's
that's
true.
true.
glad you didn't.
Oh,
So, and there you go,
I
everybody.
got morbid.
That's how you tell your D&D stories and wrap it all up with the liver
That's
transplant.
right.
Bring
This
everybody.
There
was
you go.
really awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you were on the show. I was really excited to just look at Rise of the Drow because I saw it at my local game store, the book,
Oh, cool.
which I go to all the time. And I sat down on the floor and was flipping through it. And the guy who works there, his name is Jimmy. He was like, Robin, you can't do that. So I was
He said
really
you can't
sad.
sit down on the floor and flip through a book.
There was a lot of people there, and it was the only copy on the shelf. And I'm sure there were reasons.
You know
I'm
where
sure.
you know where you can do that are the bigger bookstores like Barnes and Noble.
Right,
Noble.
yeah.
Do they have those anymore? I don't know. If it's there, you can do that.
They do. There's a Books A Million in my not
Cheerbits,
the next town
Cheerbits
over.
in the stream. Thanks for the
So-
Man, if that
Cheerbits.
store only has one copy, tell them to contact me, or I'll put them in touch with our distributor because it sounds like they need more copies. And if that's your home store,
Probably.
tell them to contact me, and maybe I'll give them a little price break. We've got a few copies left. I think we have like 70
wow.
copies of this edition left, but I'm happy
I'll
to.
let them know. We live. I mean, it's
Cut 'em
like
a
we're in
deal.
a small town. I mean, like I'm really close to Chicago. Well, an hour. Does that count? I'm an hour outside of
Yeah.
Chicago. So, but my town is really small, and it's like only one game store like that around here.
Well, you got to support it.
For
All the game
sure.
stores I loved, they're almost all gone now. So I'm totally down for supporting local game stores.
Yes.
Anything I can do to help.
If anybody lives in the Kansas City, Missouri area, I live down there. There's a little store in Peculiar, Missouri, called Peculiar Games. It's amazing. You should go there. I love the people who work there.
Does
Okay,
fucking
that's
Oh,
all.
I
Jimmy
just
work
love the
there?
name alone. That's pretty good.
What'd you say, Fury?
Oh, the name alone, Peculiar Games.
I
I'm like,
know,
yeah.
right? And the town is called Peculiar. It's a really small town outside of Kansas City, Missouri. I love that game store. Okay,
That's
I'll talk
cool.
about it some other day. But it's a great
Giorgio
store.
says St. Louis is better than Kansas City. Now we're getting
Well, I
into
don't know
city
about all
fights.
that.
Ooh, you know,
Spokane's the best.
what you need to do is when COVID's over, you need to compile like a list, like a road trip, and work with other people and like name off all the awesome game stores across the U.S. and then create like this like trip. Like you're gonna go here to then here and here, and then do this like tour to game stores across the United States. Something like that.
Ask for Jimmy.
Yeah, you can take product from all the third party publishers up here in Seattle and sell them along the way for your commission. I'll pay for your whole trip. There you go. Have
There
fun.
you go.
Whoa.
All the good gaming places are in Washington State. Thank you.
There are a lot of good ones. You got Mox Boarding House up here. You can get, a drink and a nice meal and play a game with your friends in a cool cafe with all kinds of fun, nerdy stuff all around. It's pretty good.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, John, you stayed longer than I thought you were going to stay because I was so worried about your, and I'm
It's
still
because I
worried.
enjoy talking with you guys.
Well,
But I
good.
got to go.
Oh, we
I
love
love
you.
go,
having
'cause-
you.
Yeah, thank you
Yes.
for having me. I have to go do some fun HTML and PHP stuff that I is not the fun part of my job, but I got to do it. Make sure the customers are taken care of.
All right. Well, everybody wave goodbye to John. Nobody can see anybody. Wave goodbye, everybody. Thanks, John. We'll talk to you soon.
Farewell, upper worlders. I shall see you in the underworld.
Yes. Yes. It was so nice to meet you.
All right, take care, John.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. All right.
Voices, man.
So, you guys, that was awesome.
That's awesome.
He's a big name, everybody. I finally got somebody on the show that's somebody. Oh, speaking of somebody, we got next week we're gonna have. So there's next 2 weeks are gonna be some DMs Guild creators whose names you might be familiar with if you've bought stuff that I've created for them. So Marco Fossetti next week and Dylan Hyatt the next week, and then the following week will be the Tuesday after November 17th when the Tasha's Cauldron comes out. We'll go through that and give a copy away, of course. It's going to cost me money. So all you 5 winners tonight, congrats. Make sure you, 4 winners, because he won both the things. Make sure and PM me in Discord so I can give John your info later. But we are going to do what we do on Sunday nights, everybody. We're going to stop the thing, and then we're going to come back and we're going to play what is it called?
Jackpack Party Somethings?
Yeah. We're going to play the Jackpack Party Somethings box. Right, that's exactly right. And so if you've never done that with us before, hang around. We're going to stop the stream and then restart it in like 4 or 5 minutes. And we play these games, and everybody can play. Every single person who can hear my voice right now on Twitch can play. So do it. I don't know. Anything else, ladies?
I got nothing.
Yeah, same here.
All right. Good gaming, everyone. I didn't know what else to do.